Yo, this is your boy Flex from Jersey. I'm here with my man Dan Duarte, the Coast to Coast podcast. And when we chilling back and kicking it, we listening to the Aussie Suns Fans podcast with my man Dan Duarte and the Coast to Coast squad.
Aussie Suns Fan podcast. And guess what, guys? Sponsored by @Buffalo Trace. Unofficially, of course.
Let's go.
As Chris Paul gets in, another wide open three.
Pierre Cardin.
The first to Booker for the long range.
Phoenix. Phoenix Suns, and you know we up next. Yeah, we working for that championship ring. We the valley, it ain't nothing but a thing. Phoenix. Phoenix Suns, and you know we up next. Yeah, we working for that championship ring. We the valley, it ain't nothing but a thing.
Welcome, everybody. Season 2, episode 27 of the Aussie Suns Fans podcast. I'm your host, Gavin. I'm here with Nate and Trev, who's jumped in today to cover for Boyd. Happy birthday, Boyd. We know that you've got better things to do than hang out with us. So we brought Trev in, who's a much better guest than you anyway. In saying that, also happy birthday to Ash Shaw as well. Apparently they're twins 1 year apart, but Trev, welcome aboard.
Thanks, Gav. Thanks, Nate. Thanks for having me again, guys. So yeah, always ready at the end of the bench to get the call up, and happy birthday to our brothers Boydo and Ash. Hope they have a good day. So rock and roll.
Trev, I have a lot of faith in you being on the pod that the editing at the end is going to be a lot quicker. So, good news for me. Thank you.
I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it won't be any slower, mate. So that's a positive thing. So.
and we probably won't have any C-bombs tonight, which is great. So
that's right.
Certainly we want to wish Ash a happy birthday. Boyd, get fucked. We're going to go straight into the season wrap-up. I'm just going to run through some stats of what we had this year and basically get feedback from you guys on what your thoughts were of the year. Obviously, one of the greatest years in Suns history, but in 2021-22, we used 23 players this season. We finished the season with a 64-18 record. Our road record and our home record was 32-9, which our road record was higher than all other teams' home winning percentage, which is just a phenomenal stat. We were 47-0 when leading at three-quarter time. Devin Booker and Chris Paul were all-stars. Monty, Book, and Mikal are all in major award discussions. And obviously, this was the greatest season in franchise history. Trev, what were your thoughts on the year?
Just amazing. Like, what a ride. I mean, all of us would have been last year. You're like, what a ride it was. And then, sadly, it comes to an end and you think, bloody hell. A hell of a lot has to go right to get back not only to the playoffs, and, that's still to be seen, but to make a deep run. And, of course, we all know we started 1-3. Harrison Barnes pulls one out of the proverbial against us early doors, and we think, gee whiz, this has all gone sour pretty quick. And then not too long after that, we peel off 18 in a row, if you don't mind. And then you could just gradually see the chemistry was building. All those little pieces were gradually. It took Shamet a long time to get things happening. Then we get a roll. Guys would go out with COVID or tweaked ankles, or DA would have a mystery illness that went on forever. And then everyone's speculating, are we going to re-sign, all of these guys? That was another thing. DA not getting maxed at the time. How's that going to affect us going into the season? But it's just the will and the desire that these guys have. I mean, countless times you nearly get to a point where if they're within 5 or 6 with a couple of minutes left, that they're going to win. They just execute so well down the clutch. Everyone knows their roles. Everyone's engaged on the bench. And as a fan, like, I'm sure we're all the same, right? We love sports. It's a good opportunity to just park everything else that's going on outside, in the real world, and you can just hone in for a couple of hours. Generally, it's a lot longer, when all the whistles get blown against us, but you know what I mean. and you just cheer your guts out. You jump around like a crazy person. Like I channel. I'm a 15-year-old kid in a 40-year-old man's body. It's just awesome. So to get back to where we have been. Well, look, we're not there yet, obviously, but to produce this season, and people will say, "Oh, we've had a charm run." What a load of trot! There's been so many injuries, lineup changes. It's just been next man up. Even today, you saw like what we had out there. Those guys, they have the will to win. They just want to keep executing. They want to run things and don't give up. So yeah, it's been a brilliant season. Of course, we're 16 wins away from the big one, hopefully. A lot of work will go into that, but yeah, it's just brilliant. And the stat you reeled off before, the 32-9 road record, I think is the best since the Knicks in 69-70, if I'm not mistaken. So it's pretty bloody good.
And that includes the Chicago Bulls and Warriors teams who basically didn't even lose games.
So yeah, but just to see, I think just to finally sum up, I mean, I thought we were going to need a little bit more to get back, to actually be a title team. We had those little additions. We brought in JaVale, we brought in Shamet, but the internal growth of McCall and Cam Johnson, just for starters, phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's the thing that tips you over the edge. And you can just see, when Book and CP get blitzed or hounded, as it's going to happen in the playoffs, you're going to know that we can throw it over to McHale and he's going to be able to make a play. And more often than not, if he gets, a couple of feet in that paint, he's going to finish it. So bloody excited at what's, don't take for granted what's just happened. It's been an absolute privilege, but yeah, bloody excited what's ahead of us. So we'll see how we go.
Now, Trev, after listening to you there, are you sure you can't book a flight and come with us to Phoenix?
Mate, again, it's like the 15-year-old boy in the 40-year-old man's body. You kind of just lose all logical thought at this. You're like, hell yeah, let's
So
just go.
Yes.
Let's just.
You're coming with us.
Family will be fine.
Well, trust me, both the 15-year-old kid and the 40-year-old man, both wallets are going to be empty at the end of this.
Yes. There's going to be no money left, Nate. How would you see the year?
Oh,
we just get in trouble with it anyway. So.
It'd be pretty hard to expand on that because Trevor pretty much covered everything. He did it very well. The Booker thing, I think when you're talking about player growth, and you specifically talk about the growth of McCall and the development of the team. I think when you look at, there's been talk around when do you peak? When are you at your best? Booker's 25, right?
Yeah.
So he might not have peaked for another 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
What does that even look like?
Well, look at our entire list. I mean, outside of CP3, we've got if we retain the list we've got, this is a dynasty waiting to happen.
Yeah. Look, I can't really go into too much more. We spoke the last two pods quite a bit about this. Even like last week when we were chatting with Flex, I said, look, I think we all bought in that this is the best team, and I said I still want to see that extra. I want to see that finals repeat. I kind of feel like I want to backpedal of it. Basically, looking back on the season and looking at the way they came back against Utah. And I was just what a season! What a time to be a Suns fan when you've been through so much of the shit.
And that's it.
Agree completely. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. We've been through a whole heap of hell, but Trev covered it. Nate covered off on everything else. Reality is, as a Suns fan, and we've all been around, we've followed this side for a long time, this was just such an enjoyable season. And I wrote something on Twitter today, which was that the season hadn't even started yet. It actually starts now. But let's take in what we've achieved this year. And with all the crap we've been through, with everything, look, we had to put up with Ryan McDonough for a while. So everything that we've been able to achieve this year was just so enjoyable. And it was a fantastic season. Really enjoyed it. Can't wait for the playoffs. Because realistically, I think there's one simple question that needs an answer. And that question is, who in the NBA can beat this team in 7 games? And I think the answer is no one.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think we're going to
fully
dive into
healthy.
that.
I agree.
I think we're going to dive right into that a little later on, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move in where, again, a little bit broader to what we normally do. So we're going to roll straight into our MVP, but this is our regular season MVP. I think there's only 3 options. So if you guys want to throw someone else up after I run through this, that's fine. But I think there's 3 options for the regular season MVP. First option is Devin Booker, 68 games, 0.46 of 460 field goal percentage, 383 point percentage, a 53 effective field goal percentage, 4.8 assists, 1.1 steals, 26.8 points per game. Chris Paul, 65 games, 49 field goal, 31 3-point, 56 effective field goal, 10.8 assists, 1.9 steals, 14.7 points per game. And Mikal Bridges, 82 games, 0.53 field goal, 0.37 3-point, 0.60 effective field goal percentage, 2.3 assists, 1.2 steals, and 14.3 points per game. Let's go with you, Nate, first. Who is your regular season MVP? I think the answer is going to be unanimous, but let's go with it anyway.
When you sent this through, because you had everything mashed together and it ran into playoff predictions and so forth, I looked at this like it was not just about internal. We looked at the whole league. Given our conversations a bit about, you know what, Book is the best player on the best team, he has to be in the conversation for MVP. And now that he's actually in the top 5 of names that everyone's talking about, I actually looked at, okay, Booker's definitely my MVP. And out of Chris and Mikhail, like I was talking about his growth and what he is to this team and what he's solidified this season for us, I believe it's Booker. I did think when you look at externally, I don't think that he's going to win that award though.
Oh, I don't either.
I just feel like when they announced today that Embiid had wrapped up the scoring title, and I just think the NBA or the media has been gagging to give Embiid this award for a while.
Agreed.
And I think with his play this year, with the games he's played, with the scoring title, I think he's slipped himself into favourite position there. Even though I'd still give it to Booker because I don't think Philly are getting to the finals.
Well, it was funny. I read a tweet the other day from Eddie Johnson, who basically said Devin Booker could score 35 points a game if he wanted to. Mm-hmm. But he gave that up to win 64 games.
True.
Now, they could sit there and talk about Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, all those guys. But the reality is the reason why Devin Booker doesn't put those numbers up is he gave that up for 64 wins.
And you can see it the way the team looks.
Absolutely. So your tip for the Suns MVP this year is Devin Booker?
Yep.
All right, Trev?
Yeah, look, Nate's covered it really well. I just think, and to touch back on a point Nate just made before, when we talk about organic growth, the growth in him, and I think it's more an emotional mindset. Like, there was a game not so long ago, it might have been against Sacramento, and I reckon he got fouled twice. He's retaliated, and he gets called for the foul. That's his 5th foul. Now, previously, he would have lost his marbles, probably got teed up, review it, all this kind of stuff. But he just calmly went back down. He says, we've got this. And these are the kind of jumps that have been huge. So it's no surprise to see him being able to, carry the band when CP went down with the thumb. And ditto, Book's missed some games as well. Like, how many times do you just see him come out and he's like, I'm going to set the table for the team. I'm going to get us rolling, right? These guys aren't quite going yet. I got this, right? And then the defense has to adjust. So they try and shut Booker down, and that allows the other guys to get going. And then you bring CP in, and he kind of finishes it all the work. But, I mean, you're right, like talking about Twitter stuff, Gav, you see some of the stats there the other day on, like, touches per game. Like I think Jokic averages up about 85, Book's about 58. And everyone's hanging their hats on, stats and all of these kinds of things. The other thing I can't have is like, you can appreciate all these players as being good players, your Embiids, your Jokic's, your Giannis's, right? But just because you don't think they should be the MVP doesn't mean that you don't appreciate their game or what they bring to the table. The issue that I have with MVP, it's a narrative-driven award, right?
Yes.
Like all NBA awards.
Yeah. The agenda gets pushed from, a fair way out, and it kind of plays out that way. I don't think Booker
The
will
shitty part is salary depends on it. The salary is tied to these things, and that's the shitty part.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I mean, like on the side today, we see Drew Holiday start the game, foul within 3 seconds, and
because he wanted his extra 300K.
Because he's got his games played bonus, right? So they have all these things worked in. But I mean, look, deep down, I'd be quite happy if Book Book gets snubbed in the voting, right? Because we know when Book gets ticked off, look our league, right? He's going to come out and he'll go berserk.
And I took it personally.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, but just what he brings to the team, like he's the heart and soul of the team. We drafted him. He's ours. He's the face of the franchise, and fingers crossed. Hopefully, in a bit of a run, hopefully 16 wins time, he'll go down as arguably the greatest Sun ever.
And we spoke to Flex last week, and one of us brought up the fact that Ryan McDonough recruited Devin Booker, and Flex was quick to correct us and say that Devin Booker recruited Devin Booker. He just enjoys
Dan was very adamant on that too. He was
absolutely.
Just like,
he enjoys himself to
this credit.
Our fan base. He enjoys himself to our fan base, and reality is that look, I read out. I did throw CP3 and McCall in there, and they both had great seasons, but Devin Booker was phenomenal this year, and he should be in that conversation. Now, likelihood is he finishes 4th or 5th in the MVP voting. I agree with Nate. I think it's going to be between Jokic and Embiid. And I think Embiid will win it because the NBA loves that story. But Devin Booker was phenomenal this year. Phenomenal. Defensive Player of the Year. This will be a really, really short segment. I've only put down one name, which is Mikal Bridges. If anybody's got any debate that Mikal Bridges isn't our best defensive player, go now.
Oh shit! I had Evan Mobley down. Fuck.
Mikal Bridges should win the Defensive Player of the Year. The narrative will probably push a hell of a lot of love towards Giannis, particularly if he doesn't win the MVP. So if they give it to Embiid, the MVP, I think Giannis will absolutely walk into this award because they want to give him one. But I have got one other comment. The last 2 weeks, I've seen a fucking complete nutter narrative around Marcus Smart, the Defensive Player of the Year. NBA media, if you even fucking dare, when Nate and I get over, we're going to come and shit down. Marcus Smart is not even fucking a quarter of a defender that fucking Mikal Bridges is. And you want to know...
There's a little bit of bias in that statement, I believe.
You want to know whether or not fucking Mikal Bridges is a better defender? Go and ask Donovan Mitchell after he got fucking burnt.
Yeah. Now, Marcus Smart spends more time on the deck than the leaves outside at the moment.
Yeah, well, if there was a greatest flop, if there was flopper of the year, it'd be between Marcus Smart and LeBron. So...
look, he clearly suffers from vertigo. He's always falling over at inopportune moments. So, look, our thoughts and prayers in that regard. But I mean, you look at the stats of the ground that he covers, Mikal.
Oh, right? That's right.
Look at the minutes that he plays, and he never misses a game. Right? He never takes a night off.
And plays on the best offensive player in every team, every fucking game.
Yeah, and then not only that, because he's clamped the other guy, and then one of the other guys gets hot, so he switches over to them and clamps them as well. So, yeah, he's just unreal. What he's been able to do and his growth, phenomenal.
Yeah. Nate.
Mate, you mentioned LeBron, and I don't want to let an opportunity go by where we don't shit on him properly, and you just kind of let it slip past there. So I just wanted to pull you back.
Look, coach.
End of the season, Lakers are not playing. Team is imploding. Vogel didn't know he was getting sacked. How fucking stupid is that?
Oh, no. Oh,
it was announced while he was coaching. Yes, yeah.
No, Magic Johnson announced it the day before on First Take.
Oh, really?
Yes. He said the words, of course he's getting fired.
Well, let's be honest. I think we all knew he was getting fired.
But what I wanted to point out was in the scoring title that the NBA.com mentioned, there was 3 players, Embiid, Giannis, and the third one was LeBron. But only LeBron had an asterisk next to his name. I didn't even look what it was for because I don't care. He's shit. And there was an asterisk next to his name.
Well, I can tell you what
there always should be, especially anytime someone says GOAT.
I could tell you what the asterisk was. It was that he did not play enough games to qualify for the scoring title.
Well, you know what? I figured as much, but I didn't want to go into it. I just wanted to leave it an asterisk.
Well, it's not all bad for the Lakers, boys. I don't know if you know, but they've already got their first W in the offseason. They finally got Luol Deng's contract off their books today after that beautiful stretching of that. So
I did see someone post that in the feed there. That was brilliant.
Majestic managing stuff over there. So just a center of excellence.
Is your defensive player of the year for the Suns?
Yeah, Cal, for sure.
All right. Our ultimate 1 year encouragement award.
Easy.
Nate, who you got?
The recency bias in me had this as Ishi or Effie. But obviously we're going to give it to Ishi because, to do the 2-way contract the way he did and to get a proper contract and now he gets to play finals with this team. I think that's incredible. And to say he's played meaningful minutes and not just the garbage time, I think he's proven. So that's my encouragement award for the whole season because he's been there for the whole ride.
Lovely. Trev, I know this is going to be thrown on you because you didn't have the agenda, but we need an encouragement award from you.
No, that's all right. As my wife will tell you, I get in trouble if I have too long to think about things. So best to go straight off the cuff. No, look, I'm with Nate. I think it has to be Ish. What a story, right? A guy that was a tight end at Baylor just decides, I'll go have a crack at basketball instead. Ends up on the Suns roster where you think, this guy's not going to do too much. Was just into every play, like so much infectious energy on the bench, always getting behind his guys. Then he comes in, started to make some impact plays. I remember when he came in and turned that game against the Spurs where they played him as a small ball 5, where it looked like the Spurs had us covered and we chased them down. I'm pretty sure we were double digits down in the last quarter. And he was huge in that. And then, look, it's bittersweet in some ways, have to say goodbye to Frank the Tank. He's been wonderful, what he has bought, but the upside is you give an opportunity to someone like this who has absolutely earned it and has, he's come out, his game's evolved. I mean, seems to be knocking down that corner 3 with a bit of regularity now, and that's huge. If you can come in and do that.
PJ Tucker style.
Yeah, and get in on those offensive boards, which he's done a couple of times as well. He's going to
the confidence to put him up,
catch a few guys. Yeah, so I'm with you, Nate. It's hard to go past anyone else for that one. He's so glad he's with us, and hopefully he can chip in.
So I've got an honourable mention because I'm disappointed in both of you. Honourable mention for the encouragement award goes to Frank. Frank, you'll be back next year. There's no doubt we'll sign you again. Disappointing that you had to be cut, but and we'll get into thumbs up, thumbs down, but disappointing you had to be cut. But my encouragement award goes to the Tunnel Suns, the pre-game Tunnel Suns. Guys, carry that shit out through the playoffs. That is fucking delightful. I don't care whether it's away, whether it's home, whether that is the most entertaining shit you will ever watch in your life, is watching that mob do their handshakes, do their dances, I mean, at some stage, I watched a video the other day where DeAndre Ayton took out the Iron Man thing out of someone's hand and put it into Mikhail's chest, and he did the whole I'm gonna Iron Man up in there. The Tunnel Suns are fabulous.
Well, I even did it the other day. Like JaVale phoned it in, right? Because he was out with that illness, and they all gathered around the phone.
Yep, and JaVale still did the call. Yep.
Yeah.
How good would that be if they couldn't because of censorship, but if they were able to do that, New Zealand rugby style in front of the opposition's bench? The haka.
Right in front of the opposition's bench,
That'd be gold.
right before the game. Yeah. DeAndre Ayton running after the opposition as a dog.
That's it.
That's it.
That would be sensational. My
crouch position at the
encouragement
jump.
award is Tunnel Suns, do not stop when we go into the NBA playoffs. Like, just keep going.
That's a good
All
shout,
right.
Gav. Very good.
We're going to move into our playoff predictions. And again, this is going to be pretty broad. Our first round matchup is going to be one of Minnesota, the Clippers, Nola, or the Spurs. Who are we going to play first up?
Jeez. I messaged you earlier, Gav, and I said it's head versus heart on this one because I kind of think Minnesota will handle the Clippers, but I don't like the fact that puts them back into a playing game against what I think is going to be New Orleans. I don't see the Pels losing to San Antonio.
Yep.
And that means it's the Clips or the Pels coming our way. And I mean, I was quite adamant last week then when Flex asked us if there was one team we didn't want to face, and for me it was the Clippers, because I just feel like they're going to be out to injure us to discount our ability to go on, and I don't want to be anywhere near that. Not because I don't think we can beat them, because I don't want to have to suffer an injury.
The other team's Minnesota. If the Clippers get past Minnesota, we've got to play Minnesota with Pat Beverly.
Yep, that's true too, but I don't know. I think Pels and Minnesota is an interesting matchup, though.
I do like what the Pels have done since CJ McCollum's come across.
They've kind of locked up all the positions. Like, even if it's just like the off guard with McCollum, the wing with Ingram, and Valanciunas still doing what he does consistently in the middle. That's pretty formidable. I mean, Minnesota aren't tested in the playoffs.
Val is seriously underrated, Valanciunas. He's seriously underrated.
Look, I think we always talk about the West being the hardest, but I mean, I think I'd rather take on Dallas or Utah in the first round than anyone coming out of the playoff tournament.
And that's a funny thing. I think our first round matchup is going to be harder than our second round matchup.
I do. I honestly do.
So, Nate, what's your call?
Well, look, my first glance.
Personally, I think it's only Minnesota or the Clippers.
Yeah.
When it comes to Nola versus the Spurs, whoever wins that game is losing to either Minnesota or the Clippers.
Yeah, see, I actually gave the Pels more chance against the Clippers.
Okay.
I put my heart first and said Mini across to Memphis to win the first game, and the Clippers go and play the Pels in the play on for our 8 and our matchup. And I don't like whoever comes out of that matchup.
Yeah. Trev?
I probably see it a little bit different to Nate. We were just chatting off air before we started. I think the Clips will handle Minnesota. I am pretty wary of them, as we all are. Obviously with George back, but I think that trade that they made at the deadline, bringing in Covington and Storm and Norman Powell, they're a deep team now. They got that switchy defense. They can shift guys around all over the place. They're going to be a handful. So with that being said, I think in a lot of ways, Memphis as the 2 seed And as I said, I think the Clippers will take care of Minnesota. It's a lot like we were last year against the Lakers. You'll have this battle-hardened, playoff experienced squad in the Clippers coming up against the new guys on the block. I know Memphis made it in last year. They lost it. They took the first game off the Jazz and then
Golden State.
And then lost. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I see it. So then you're going to get to. I'd expect the Pels to knock off the Spurs, but I think the Pels will give Minnesota a bit of run for their money. I think he's a wonderful player, Cat, but times I've seen him this year, he's a ticking time bomb emotionally. Like you recall when he played against us that last game and he's pointing at his in-Crowder's head, clapping to he had 3 points and barely touched it after that.
Yeah, 3 points.
So refs, obviously, they're going to let a bit more go. So yeah, I really think that they're going to, get stuck into him. Obviously a test for Edwards to see how he goes. And I'm not sold. D'Angelo Russell's very hit or miss. He's he doesn't seem to have a happy medium. He's either really good or he's really bad. So I do think, because also if they drop that game against the Clippers, then the pressure gets turned up a little bit on them.
Agree.
Where the Pels are just kind of coming in for a bit of a free swing, if you will. So yeah, that's kind of the way I see it. So
do you reckon Pat Bev would go as hard on his old team to the point
he would.
He would. He'd just salt them
Revenge
in the car park. He'd run them over in the car park if he could.
They could potentially hurt each other into the first round.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah.
Because they could both make the first round and both hurt each other getting there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm with Trev there. I think the Clippers get past Minnesota. And basically, the reason I think so is Minnesota are flakes. They're a soft basketball team. I know that Pat Beverly adds a little bit of hardness or
just
from
bark.
Pat will add a little bit to them. But when you look at their big three, which is Cat, Anthony Edwards, and D'Angelo Russell,
Yeah.
I'm just not sure that Minnesota are actually going to get out of the play-in. I think the Clippers will knock them off first round, and I think Nola will knock them off in the second round, and we'll play New Orleans.
I think you're right. And I agree going back. I think that will be a tough matchup. Not only, you factor in, the matchups are pretty good. Like Jonas Valanciunas will give DA a handful. Ingram is a handful on the wing. But then you've also got Willie Green, who kind of also already knows a lot of the stuff that we run.
Team.
Exactly.
He knows our team.
It'll be a challenge.
And
So
New Orleans have not been easy for us this year.
No,
every game has been a challenge.
Everyone.
You're spot on. So, and I agree with you with what you said, that potentially if we're good enough to get through, our second round matchup should be easier on paper. I mean, I would have, after what we did to the Jazz the other day, I think we've broken them.
Yeah.
I would have absolutely.
I think the Jazz broke themselves.
Yes.
I think they break themselves about halfway through the year. But all right, so that's a good segue. We'll move into the second round.
Are you going to look
get
at
past whoever it is we play? We're either going to play Dallas or Utah. Dallas have never beaten us with DeAndre Ayton in the team. We're 12 or 13-1 against Dallas in the last 3 years. And Utah are an implosion waiting to happen. Now, the only way Utah gets through this matchup is if Luka doesn't play. And we all know he hurt his calf today. So
I disagree. I mean, I had Utah getting through on matchups because I don't like the center rotation for Dallas since Kristaps has gone.
Yeah, but
the matchups from Utah, they're going to expose the inside.
The White Powell has a crack.
Yeah, but he's not great.
Yeah, but they don't pass the ball to Gobert.
Well, yeah, okay. There's a strategy that no one can do the video for, the research.
Donovan Mitchell has had not assist but passes, has had less passes to Rudy Gobert than Joe Ingles, who left halfway through the year.
He's more likely to pass a kidney stone than pass it to Gobert, you'd suggest. So it's pretty rare. I think what Nate's touching on, I think it'll be a great reference point. I guess main thing to point out, Dallas is different now from when we played them earlier in the season. Now, from my recollection, all 3 games, Dallas led at 3/4 time. And the first 2 didn't have Luka, and we ran them over. Third one, Luka played, and we did the same thing. We just out-executed them in the clutch. I guess we point out now they're changed. Kristaps has gone. Dinwiddie's come in. So he's given them a bit of a spark off the bench. But they're little, right? So straight off you think, well, our Achilles heel of rebounding, that's probably not going to bite us here. But I guess the learning point will be if Dallas progresses, they will have had to combat the size of Utah, notably Gobert. And it'll be really interesting to see how that goes, in terms of using DA and JaVale. It's interesting. Utah's coughed up too many double-digit leads down the clutch, right? Like that quarter they had against us the other day, I've seen that 3 or 4 times. They've done it against the Warriors. It's just when the game's on the line, and you saw it last year in the playoffs. Didn't the Clips come back from 20-odd in Game 5 or Game 6? They just don't have it in their DNA. You can't just flick a switch and turn it on. And it's a lot to do with the game style. I think, they kind of, a lot of living and dying by the 3, as silly as it is.
Trev, let's tie that back to what Gav said. If Luka is damaged, not injured, but damaged and not playing at 100%, what did Dallas have to walk over Utah with in that situation?
It's hard, isn't it? I mean, you're relying on your bit players like your
a healthy team that doesn't get along is still better than an injured roster, right?
It's true. But I think Dallas will be able to keep it close because their defense has picked up, right? But this is huge. If Luka's gone for the entire series, then they probably can't win.
Second round,
he should be
back.
Oh no, but we're talking about
this is the first round.
Yeah, they play first round. Yeah.
This is getting out of the first round.
So if he's gone for all 7 games, I don't think they can win. If it's only for 1 or 2, then I think they can be okay. Because I think the Jazz, if you can stick around close enough, like they like to hit you with those 3-point barrages. Your Clarksons and all of that, they get hot for periods. But Luka's kind of he's like Steve Nash was to the 7 seconds or less, right? He's the engine that makes it all run. He gets those guys their open looks.
We're talking about Luka though, and Dallas have the home court advantage in that game. So the first 2 games are in Dallas, either minus or with a damaged Luka.
Yeah.
That if he
it hurts him.
Starts to get better, he's not getting better till they go on the road to Utah. So there's another advantage for
it's a fair
Jazz.
Call. It's a fair call. But if Donovan shoots like he did against the Suns.
Hey, look, like you said before, Gav, I don't really care who we play. This is going to be the easiest round of the playoffs.
I think so. I think this is an easier round than anything we play in the first round.
Yeah. I think it's all just to do with the method, right? Like whoever wins will have some confidence. But you just want to see, if they all of a sudden they did something that was a bit out of character and you didn't think they had them in, you'd be like, whoa, that's a bit different. But I think we know what Utah are. And then
let's
look,
be honest, Dallas and Utah, neither of these sides are beating us in 7 games.
No,
It's just not.
Nobody is, Gav.
No,
we'd wear Luka down, and as I said, I think we've struck a huge psychological blow if we hadn't already against the Jazz. So,
well,
all right.
Who
Western
else do you see
Conference
coming
Finals. Who's getting out the other side?
No, before you go on, let's touch on the elephant in the room, and that's after the way it panned out today, Golden State and Denver. Because I sat here.
This is the next point. Who's getting out of the Western Conference on the other side?
Well, that's still first round. So you've got Memphis.
Honestly, I don't think Golden State. Personally, I don't think Golden State will beat Denver.
So
It's the
I
worst
sat
possible
there and
matchup
I
for
wrote Denver and then I rubbed
think.
it out and I put Golden State.
I think Denver, and I agree with Trev, what Trev just said. I think Denver is the worst possible matchup that Golden State could have in the first round.
They're kind of opposites as far as where their strengths are.
Absolutely. Opposite games. I think Steph will only play if they are struggling to win the series.
Yeah, I read today. He seems to be, it seems to be up in the air.
Yeah, he's
going to
battling.
be ready for the first game. So that's not too encouraging.
Now,
you're looking at
Clay's caught fire against the bottom sides in the West. So he must be way better now.
Your favorite.
Good tosser.
Well,
Yeah,
what
we've
about the
got-
other matchup? What about Memphis? Are they going to walk over?
I'm not confident Memphis
or
gets
Lakers?
out. I don't think
Like the
I don't think Memphis gets out of the Clippers.
Yeah,
Shit.
that's going to be a huge one, I think.
So then you're
Yeah.
looking at Clippers Denver as what washes into our game.
Yeah.
Well, you know who we'd rather for that one.
Suns in 4.
Yeah.
To be honest, again, we spoke about it last week. The Clippers are the biggest worry in the West. So if we get to the Western Conference Finals and it's the Clippers, there's a chance Kawhi's playing as well. I'd actually prefer Kawhi playing because the way that they are structured, if Kawhi comes in, it'll mess up everything they do.
Yeah,
They'll feel compelled to feed him the ball, and he hasn't played in 2 years.
It'd be a big roll of the dice. But yeah, look, I mean, I just take solace in the fact our best is better than everyone else's best. So it's going to be up. It's going to be up to these other teams to take us out of our stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And we've got enough guys, and I can see this, and this is why I like these signings of Ish, just to show that James Jones has been thinking about what we need. There's going to be guys that come in, like an Aaron Holiday, Ish might come in, might only play 2 minutes, but they'll make an impact. They'll disrupt a couple of players, get some deflections, cause some turnovers. In the scheme of things, that'll be huge.
I just want Ish to come in and punch Paul George in the head.
I'd just like to spear tackle him. You just snap him in half with that
NFL tackle.
boy around the shoulders.
Yeah,
Again.
Yeah. So, well, hopefully Paul doesn't, strain that elbow again with his push-off arm. Every time I see him, it's up there just trying to shove blacks off. So.
Look, I'm not confident that Golden State come out, but when you look at that side of the draw, Golden State is most likely.
Yeah.
At this point. So
the Steph thing's interesting though. Very interesting.
It is. He's struggling, and Western Conference Finals style. I think it's Suns Warriors, and we will not lose in 7 games to the Warriors.
Yeah, it'll be tough, but I still think, even when we played them there that other time, we didn't play great, but we still found a way to get it done. And even with the Warriors, you've still got question marks. Guys like Jordan Poole, how will he handle the meaningful minutes in the playoffs? He very well might shine in the playoffs, and good luck if he does. But
I think he's
still
their
got
only
those
solid piece.
Yeah, got their own.
He's great, but let's be honest, our defense actually tightens up when it comes to the playoffs. And
the game slows down.
When it came to the game slowing down against the Warriors last time, Jordan Poole had no impact.
Yeah, that's it. You're running more half-court sets, and that all comes back into, which ironically, back when we had the 7 seconds or less version, that was our Achilles heel. When the game slowed down and having to run it in the half court, that was against us. Now it's how we want to do it.
Now it's our strength.
So,
yeah. So we come out, we play the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. We beat them 4-1. I'll give them 1.
Sorry, Boyd.
We go into the NBA Finals. Who's coming out of the East?
Well, did you sit down and do like a mock bracket all the way through, Gav? Because I had the same too, and I looked at Atlanta and Charlotte, and I think Atlanta will come out there just because there's more scoring depth,
Yep.
which puts them up against the loser of Brooklyn, Cleveland. I got to tell you, I would not be surprised if Cleveland handled Brooklyn and go on to play Boston,
Nah.
and then put Brooklyn against Atlanta.
Brooklyn beat Cleveland hands down.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't be surprised if they shit the bed and then it takes that to spur them on against Atlanta and they play Miami.
Cleveland wise, they've got their biggest gap is going to be the ISO ball with Durant and Kyrie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I didn't have. Oh, if I actually think Cleveland or Brooklyn could take Boston. I'm not on board the recency bias as them being
I agree.
a hope right to the end. So
I don't think Boston. I don't think Boston's as good as they think they are.
No, I'm right there with you. So I think Cleveland or Brooklyn could challenge Boston. Milwaukee's obviously coming out against Chicago. Milwaukee's going to beat whoever wins out of Boston, Cleveland, or Brooklyn. Milwaukee gets to the end. Philly will handle Toronto. Miami and Toronto for that spot. I think Miami will
There's way too much love for Matisse Thybulle can't play against Toronto. So the Sixers are going to lose. Sixers will smash Toronto.
Toronto will just enjoy being back in the mention, I reckon. But then we get down to finals being Miami versus Milwaukee, and that's where I've got a question mark. I really don't know who's going to come out of that. They're two completely different teams, and Milwaukee runs everything through one player basically, and Miami sort of structured more like us, where they're deep, they're talented, and the ball gets around. Trev, how do you see it?
Well, if we take it back, so for all of our punters listening out there, I'd be definitely taking the overs in the Atlanta-Charlotte game. I'm not sure we'll see a hell of a lot of playoff intensity defense in that one. It'll just be who can get it in the basket the quickest. Look, I think Brooklyn will overcome the Cavs. I think Cavs have had a great season, but they've just been a bit unlucky losing guys with injury, and I think they've just run out of puff a little bit. And you're going to... I mean, we've seen it already a few times this year. It's highly likely Kyrie and KD go for nearly the full 48. Hasn't been too uncommon this year. So I think those two. So I think, Brooklyn finishes 7. And then, look, I'm hoping Cleveland can secure the 8th spot. I think they've been a real revelation this year with what they've been able to do. All that length. And it's been a fun game to watch. I do feel sorry when Rubio went down. I thought what he was doing for that team was fantastic. The way he was getting guys moving around and all those kinds of things. So I really hope that they get through, and I'd be confident that they would beat Atlanta or Charlotte, although I do think Atlanta will knock off Charlotte. So moving through to the other series, I'd be surprised if the Bulls take a game in their series. So they're playing Milwaukee, is that right? Have I got that right? Yeah, yep. So I'd be very surprised.
Milwaukee 3rd.
Yeah, so I'd be very surprised if that happens. In regards to Boston, look, they are playing quite well, but I'm not entirely sold either. I think without Williams in the middle, I really think if he was there, I'd be gee whiz, these guys could really give it a shake. But without him in the interior, I still think there's a few lapses there. That being said, though, they're on such a wave. I think you've got to hit them early. Like, they've got to take game 1 away from them. Otherwise, they're going to build that confidence. So I think that's big. But, Brooklyn's can be the team to do it, right?
Would you have thought we'd be sitting here at the end of the regular season saying that Boston's only a chance if their 6'8" center is healthy?
Who goes by the nickname the Time Lord?
Time Lord.
Because he slept through his alarms or something like that. So, yeah, it's funny. Well, people were calling for Udoka's head not so far into the season. Now they're trying to throw him up as Coach of the Year candidate. So I guess that's a good thing. I like opinions, just like armpits, we've all got them, right? So,
I noticed
Yeah,
you went for
it's-
armpits there. Thank you for the
I did,
lack
you
of
know.
censorship. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's Boyd's birthday, I'll leave that stuff to him. So that's all okay. Yeah, and then look, if we move to the other series, I think Miami gets through. I think Philly will get through, although Toronto has been playing some good ball. I do think they will miss Bible. I don't know. Do the ghosts of Philly kind of come back and haunt them? They've had a bit of bad luck, and
It will. They've got James Harden. It's bound to
Yeah.
implode.
and I'm not sure Doc's the man at the helm, right? I think he gets a bit rattled himself. So
But there's a reason why he's in the rumor mill for coaching the Lakers next year, right? It's not a
Yeah.
fluke. It's not a fluke.
Yeah.
They're talking about him going somewhere else.
that's it. Just throw the match on and let it burn, baby. So yeah, I think that'll be interesting as well. So I still think Milwaukee gets out. I think
All the way.
kind of yeah. I just think
Finals
now
rematch.
that Lopez is back, he's a pretty big part of what they do. I think it'll be. Look, I hope it's a finals rematch, at least from our point of view. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I'm comfortable knowing that this year's Suns is a better version than last year's Suns, and I think
True.
this year's Bucks. I don't know. Maybe now that they've got it there, they can flick a switch somewhat in the playoffs. Although I don't subscribe to that theory, I do think
You're about to touch on it. I reckon we're better, and they got worse.
yeah. Just in terms of matchups, personnel v personnel, I think we've strengthened ours, and they've lost a little bit. So we shall see. But it's an exciting time of year, boys. Feels like it's taken forever to get back here, and now here we are. So
Thank fuck we are though, right?
bring it on.
Well,
eh?
I think that the Eastern Conference Finals becomes system versus solo. So Miami versus Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Miami runs the system. Milwaukee is more than happy to ISO. Whoever comes out of there, personally, I hope it's Milwaukee, because I think system wins.
Yeah.
The NBA
Well, no
Finals
doubt.
system
Miami's
wins.
the best coach team in the East. There's no doubt about that. So if any team's going to make adjustments from game to game, or even quarter to quarter, it's Spoelstra. So yeah, I think that's a pretty fair shout. And I think with Philly now as well, will they be able to set that balance between Harden ISO ball and Embiid getting his touches? They haven't had a lot of time to rehearse it, and now you'll be right under the gun. So look forward to seeing it.
Lads, when we win the NBA Finals, who's our MVP?
Look, I've got a book for both. Like I've got if it's Giannis, Book's just going to take it. He won't let Giannis take it. And if it's Miami, they'll spread the love around, and Booker will just own the series.
Yeah.
Trev?
Oh, gee whiz.
Look, I think this is a battle in two. There's only two blokes, if we win the title, who can win the finals MVP. It's Book or it's Chris Paul.
Yeah. I think you kind of take out someone like McHale. I mean, I think really the only time a defensive-minded player is ever going to be in the category is if there's like a bona fide number one option, which Miami doesn't necessarily have.
Did Iguodala win? Win?
But what kept
finals
LeBron to
MVP?
still averaging 30 or something, but that was on quite a few shot attempts. So I don't know. Like if let's just say hypothetically we play the Bucks and DA keeps
Well,
Giannis.
DA's going to play on Giannis.
So keeps Giannis to like 20 and 10 throughout the series. That's probably if that happens, we're going a hell of a long way to winning. So
we got a backup center with 6 extra fouls to give this year.
That's it.
And the
We've
man from the
actually got
Congo
two.
as well, if we need to. So
Exactly.
It's
And
exciting.
Ish. We can throw Ish in too. He can back.
Well, I know
Hit
grown
him
that
at the
hair
free
out.
throw line. Don't let him get to the inner circle.
He's growing that hair out, so that's another extra couple of inches that he's bringing to
As
the
long
table.
as
So it's good.
as long as he doesn't hit 18 from 19 again. Fucking
Ugh.
piece of shit.
And as long as we don't have that clown that counting with his money when he was doing the free throws, get him out,
Jesus,
please. I don't
so
want
annoying.
him.
All right. So me personally, I think if we win the NBA Finals this year, I'm going to go with the NBA media. What would you say?
Does it start with a C?
The favoured vote, I suppose. I'm trying to think of the word. Chris Paul will win MVP for the NBA Finals.
Works for me.
Even though Book will probably dominate and deserve it, they'll just give it to Chris Paul.
You pointed out earlier they love a good narrative.
Narrative, good word. Thumbs up, thumbs down. What do we got? 3 questions.
Pump through them. It's going to be a pretty quick one, I imagine, by looking at these.
You got you writing them?
I can do that, yeah.
All right, very good. Cutting Frank for Ish was the right call.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Our ability to get to the foul line is a concern coming into the playoffs against teams that get cheap calls every time down the floor. We are now minus 78 free throws attempted in the last 8 games.
Trev?
Thumbs down for me.
I'm also thumbs down. Gav?
I'm thumbs up.
All right. Probably why it was so freaking long of a statement.
And we will move into next season because I couldn't think of anything else. If a Lundberg will take Alfred Payton's spot on our roster for next season.
Trev?
Thumbs up.
Yep.
I'm also thumbs up.
So.
All right. So cutting Frank for Ish was the right call, was the first question. We're all thumbs up. Just a little bit of background on that. I know that Sun's Twitter's gone fucking ballistic and we should have cut Alfred Payton and we should have done this, should have done that. Frank isn't fit. Alfred Payton gave us an extra body when it comes to playoffs. If we get injuries, it gives us an extra body. Alfred Payton is no good, but reality is we can put him on the floor.
Yep, that's all it came down to me, Gav, was who can play minutes, and that's not Frank.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it also just shows like the team is looking at every little thing that they have at their disposal to make them the best possible version of themselves going into the playoffs. So, appreciate what Frank did. That 31-point game earlier in the year against Portland and giving the 2 small sign to Norman Powell, that'll live with me forever. So
I would have liked if he got one more 30-point game so that Espe had to get a tat, but
Kaminsky Cove.
Our ability to get to the foul line is a concern coming into the playoffs against teams that get cheap calls every time down the floor. So
Gav, you're the odd one out here, and you
this
wrote this one in
question was
detail,
more about. I'm not so concerned in the West, but in the East where we have to. Let's say Philly makes finals, or let's say Giannis makes finals.
I like the way you didn't say Milwaukee, just Giannis.
Those fuckers get calls for nothing, and they spend the entire game on the fucking foul line.
Yep.
On the foul line is 3 points. If we're missing at the other end, that's a concern, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a quick note down here. What have I got? Fuck other teams. That was my response. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. I think look, you also need to factor in the way the Suns play, right? We have a stack of ball movement, which leads to a lot of open shots, a lot of open dunks, cutting movement, right? So quite often we beat the defense, get an open shot, therefore don't draw the foul. Other teams are a little bit different when they play that heavy ISO ball, and then you have guys that just like to barrel into guys, and all those kinds of things. So I'm not saying it's not
okay. So that's great. That's a great point. But NBA playoffs, the game slows down. We spend a lot of time doing that.
Yeah, but I think if you go back to last year, we saw our free throw rate started to pick up quite a bit. compared to what it was in the regular season. I think you saw a bit more Book, a little bit more CP. You also saw some more stuff, being able to get it inside to DA as well. I think all of those things will be big. So, yeah, it's going to be, it is something that always, can take the game away from you, right? You fear it if you're the better team, player X gets into foul trouble, and it's going to help you or hinder you depending on who it is. But I think this team's got enough nous and belief in the system to not let that bother them. I don't think they'll get through. And look, and I know a lot of it gets made of these figures, what the discrepancy. I know Kevin Ray was talking about it on today's telecast, what the discrepancy has been over those games. And the casual fan will go, the refs have got us in. But you got to take into account the way we play. We do move it around a hell of a lot more than your average team. A lot of movement, a lot of cutting leads to open stuff. So you're not going to get fouls that way. And as opposed to those other teams that do try and get some in. That being said, though, there are players that clearly get reffed on reputation. I mean, JaVale just seems, anytime he gets near someone, he tends to get whistled for one, where other guys can get away. So,
and my biggest concern is we get into an NBA Finals with Philly. Yep. And the entire series is decided on the foul line.
Yeah, look, you can't dismiss it, right? You just say, you try and adjust when we get there. I think both times we've played Philly, though, DA, and particularly this year, we've done a good job on him. Like, he hasn't gone to the line a silly amount of times as opposed to some other teams. So, yeah. I see what you're pointing
official
as
side
well.
of things, though. Do you think not even the officials are sick of James Harden and the ISO ball? Do you think they not see him at the top of the key? They sit there and go, for fuck's sake, pass the ball.
They keep calling fucking fouls.
And now that we've been
with absolutely
I watched
zero
a Philly
contact.
game the other day. And between Harden and Embiid, they had 38 foul shots. The fuck?
Yeah, it's hard to watch. But no, now that we've beaten our Scott Foster curse, I'm convinced we can overcome the adversity that the black and whites might throw our way. So,
all right,
and as I said, if things get out of hand, we'll just get Ish Wainwright to spear tackle them, and we'll be fine.
That's what he's there for.
Nate, any comment on that?
No, I did it. Fuck other teams. That was it.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool stop.
And moving forward into next year, if Lundberg will take Alfred Payne's spot on our roster, we're all thumbs up. Trev, comment.
Well, you couldn't imagine a tougher gig, right? You're relocating from the other side of the world to a team that's knocking on the door of playoffs that have been playing together all year, and you've come in, got to learn everything that's happening all in a matter of days, it feels like.
Yeah, you opened with you couldn't imagine a tougher thing to do. He's
come out of Russia.
He's coming
Man, as a professional basketballer, I'm not talking. Yeah. A fair point, lads. Fair point. I see where you're going. That's all right. So,
or Brittany Griner with him, but.
That's exactly right. Well, that's a story for another day. That's the off-season pod, I guess. But no, but look, for him to come in, I've liked what I've seen. That jumper looks nice. Good arc on that shot. He gets about it. Still needs to learn a little bit with the schemes, but absolutely, if he can knock down that three, which he looks like looks reasonable enough, and you've got no reason to think it won't improve a little bit once he gets comfortable. Definitely worthy of roster minutes.
Does anyone else, and you guys have watched basketball as long as I have, does anyone else see Drazen Petrovic?
Oh, not quite yet. I wouldn't go
in the shot. No, just the shooting style.
Yeah, a little bit. Although probably the release not as quick as Drazen, but that could come. That probably comes with confidence and all of those kind of things.
I mean, he's only played 3 games, so
yeah. Won't quite label him as Craig Hodges yet, but we'll see how we go.
Nate, comment.
Mate, this one's pretty simple. Because Flex says so. I'm going to follow that because some people don't agree with that. And my only comment to that is Oh, different Dave. ... Because Flex says so. That's all I got. That's really all I got.
Yeah,
It's impressive the way he looked into the camera there. That's nice.
You like that?
I've
Like
only
that little
got-
bit of
I've
intimate
only
moment
got
I have
one.
with the audience. Yeah.
That's deep.
I've only got one comment on this. Yes, because Alfred Payton is shit.
Yes. I'm glad you picked up there. I had to pick between my points here. All right, what's his ceiling though, guys? The Lundberg, from what we've seen.
Alfred Payton?
No, that's the floor. We're already below it. What's the ceiling on Lundberg? Like, what could he be? What could he be?
No, he'll never get there.
Like, is he like a Eurostash equivalent, like Bogdanovic?
No.
When we passed him off for Chris, but
No,
how good could this guy be?
I think his ceiling is back of the bench. Some pretty solid minutes during the regular season. Playoffs, not so much. It's a cheap contract to fill a roster. That's what he is.
But I think they would have, they wouldn't have made the move unless they saw something in him.
Well, it wasn't a move for now.
Yeah,
It can't have been. He travelled too far to fill a.
No, that's right. Not for 3 games.
No. So there's got to be
this is ongoing.
There's got to be something that James Jones sees in his ceiling to make this about next year.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope his ceiling is Drazen Petrovic. That'd be fucking sensational. But
I mean, we haven't even been to Summer League yet. I mean, what's going to come out of Summer League? It's actually going to happen.
yeah,
But the roster spot's full now, technically.
this year, yeah.
Well, no, going into next is the conversation. If we maintain.
Yeah, we fuck Alfred Payton off and put him in.
Yeah. All right. That's all
But
we
back
got.
of the bench. Back of the bench.
he stamped him. Bang.
Wrap up. Last comments, Trev.
Oh, well, just
Next time we speak will be after game 1 of the first round of playoffs.
So very nice to, have it on a public holiday. So that's a good sign. No, look, just going back to what we said before, boys, you don't take these things for granted, right? When, we followed it, and Gav, you and I have spoken, it's only a couple of years. It felt like 5 minutes ago we won 19 games for the season, right? So everyone that's gone through that deserves to be here, to enjoy this stuff. So as I said, it just seems so long ago when the head was in the hands there on the couch last year, when we just came up that bit short, but gee, we was bloody excited to be here. All your hope is, look, health sticks with us all the way. We just get that little bit of luck when we need it. But if ever there was a Sun squad to do it, it's these boys. There's just not a weakness in the armour across a 7-game series. And if they bring their best to the table, man, I'm going to give it a hell of a shake. So, can't wait. There's a bit of nervousness and anxiousness about it as well, but that's what makes the winning so good, right? If you didn't have that, you wouldn't appreciate how awesome it is when you win. So not taking anything for granted. Every team that you play does something good. That's why they're there. That's why they're a playoff team. But, excited by the journey ahead and, can't wait to get into it, boys. So look forward to chatting about it further.
Awesome, Trev. Nate, last comments?
I'm going to wrap up with some sharing the love. We were fortunate enough to have Flex and Dan on here last week. We've had Justin, so says Jay, from Fanning the Flames on. The Flex and Dan, the Coast to Coast podcast, gave us love for inspiring them to get back into it on the recent pod. So that was cool. So shout out back to them. We appreciate it. We listen. We like getting given the credit for making you good again. I'm sure there's a cap in that. But I feel like from our chat before, Gav, we need to throw some love out to Paul, right? He's having pod anxiety, and he wants to come on.
Paul, you're on next. Maybe.
There you go. Maybe because we've kind of already reached out.
Paul, you're coming up, mate.
Well, the segment,
we want you on.
The wrap-up comment is share the love, and this is us sharing it with you, my friend. That is all.
The list is long, but
follow us on Twitter, Aussie Suns fan. like, share, do all that sort of great stuff. Paul, we're going to get you on as soon as we can. Don't worry. Playoffs. We wanted to save you for the important moments, because if we get the other guys on, they talk too much. You don't talk to them. So you're pretty good for us. Like, share, do all that, comment. We've started to get far more people watching us. We have a bit of fun. We love what we do. Yeah, that's about it. Enjoy your nights. We will see you next week.
Ciao.
Go Suns.
Oh, Dave. ... Was that good?
It's going to be a good time.